Chapter 1. Wings of War. The sun cast an eerie golden light over the English Channel, turning the restless waters into a tumult of shadows and gleaming reflections.
Lieutenant James Jimmy Harris clenched the control stick of his Spitfire, his knuckles white with tension.
The hum of the Merlin engine resonated through his bones, as if it were an extension of his own heartbeat. Around him, the skies were alive with chaos. Enemy aircraft darted through the air like predatory birds, their movements erratic and deadly. Jimmy's eyes darted between the planes and the instruments, calculating angles, speed, the distance to his target, all while sensing the pressure of the enemy's presence closing in around him.
He pulled the trigger. The Spitfire shuddered as rounds spat forth.
A Messerschmitt in front of him spiraled downward, smoke trailing like a shroud. But before he could experience the fleeting rush of victory, another fighter bore down on him.
He banked sharply, the jarring force like a giant hand shoving him aside.
Clouds boiled ahead, swelling with an unnatural electricity. A storm, but not like any he'd ever seen. The air grew thick, the very molecules vibrating.
Jimmy attempted to veer away, but it was too late.
A blinding arc of power engulfed the Spitfire. His world spun, fragmented into a storm of images and sensation. He felt torn through time itself. Chapter 2. Unexpected Arrival. The darkness lifted like a silent, suffocating veil. Jimmy gasped, consciousness clawing its way back.
The cockpit hummed with familiarity, yet the world outside was a stranger's. He descended, maneuvering the Spitfire with a caution born of confusion. Below, the runway appeared pristine, untouched by the ravages of war. Modern aircraft, sleek and silver, rested like sleeping leviathans upon the tarmac.
Touching down, the hard thrum of wheels against earth jostled him back to stark reality. Jimmy removed his helmet, the air within the cockpit now stifling.
As the canopy opened, he emerged into a world both familiar and alien, the taste of the air filled with anachronism.
The base, logically big and hill, was transformed beyond imagination. Gone were the makeshift scrap heaps of war. In their place stood buildings with glistening facades and expansive hangars. His heart pounded with an irrational urgency, his pulse the only sound in a disbelieving silence. Chapter 3. Displaced in time. Jimmy wandered aimlessly, his feet tracing patterns upon a path his mind refused to comprehend. The familiar figments of war and comrades were lost amidst this polished scene.
As if in a dream, a voice broke through the haze. It was Lily Brandt, an aeronautics engineer with a gaze both wary and intrigued. She questioned him, her words lost in a swirl of incredulity.
Jimmy, mirroring her confusion, stumbled through explanations of dogfights and sandpaper skies.
When she mentioned the year being 2025, his mind faltered, logic crumbling beneath the weight of disbelief. Thrust forward over 80 years, the gravity of the truth bore into him with ruthless precision. Lily, too, seemed caught amid disbelief, yet a spark of curiosity drove her. Somehow, she believed him. Her eyes, sharper than a radar's sweep, agreed to help him understand this impossible reality. Chapter 4. Fading glory days turned into a shuffle of hesitant steps through a land of anachronisms. Jimmy wandered, a spectre of the past taking refuge in echoes.
Before him lay old signage, relics of the struggle he once knew, preserved like insects in amber. Commemorative sculptures stood guard against the skyline, stone facsimiles of fallen heroes, warriors frozen in time.
And liberated, the glories of his past overshadowed by the weight of history he now bore. For the world had moved on, yet the echoes of its foundations whispered incessantly to him, pulling at his consciousness, demanding attention. Chapter 5. Tales from the Past. Lily, finding intrigue in his story, granted Jimmy glimpses of what had transpired since his own time unraveled. Together, they explored battles that time had diminished, yet remembered still. Through screens and archives, Jimmy absorbed a view of a world transformed, of nations rebuilt upon broken empires, of peace both delicate and enduring.
As Lily spoke, she painted scenes of tribulation and triumph, the notes of which were woven from the fabric of his history.
Jimmy, fascinating and bewildered, pondered the legacies he had forged, unable to fathom the scale or reach of their impact. A fighter pilot from another era, he began to view the tumult of war with new eyes, through a lens both distant and near. Chapter 6. Haunted Skies. Despite the pull of this world, its progress and technologies, Jimmy's heart yearned for the skies of his own time.
The Spitfire, now more relic than craft, became his focus. its frame a tether to the past and perhaps a road home. Amidst panels and dials, he sought answers, his hands tracing the familiar riveted hide.
In his investigation, he stumbled across phenomena akin to threads of fate, tangled within the plane's sinews. The air around him thickened with possibilities, as if mocking the simplicity of linear time. Here, secrets whispered, laced within atomic vibrations, promising the impossible, a return. Yet within the threads lingered ghosts of his own battles, echoes that were not lost, but rather trapped in the timeless space he seeks to traverse. Chapter 7. Reckonings. Once more, Jimmy took to the skies, his mind fixed upon unraveling not just technology, but the mysteries buried beneath humanity's temporal armor. Provincial time seemed off-kilter, its rhythm disturbingly out of sync. Flying the skies became an excitable ritual for him and Lily. Together they examined time, considering its bends and folds. In scientific conjecture, they dove into theoretical garments of wormholes and electromagnetic fields. Chapter 8. Ties Reforged. Lily gradually became more than a guide to this strange world. In her quest for understanding Jimmy's past, she found within him a kindred spirit, a man tethered to his own history more than a place in her present.
They talked as the stars crept into the evening skies, understanding ripening silently between pauses in their conversations.
Lily opened up too, revealing the secret life within her work, the dreams of flight, the questions of future looming like unnamed ghosts. Chapter 9. Shadows of the Future. Together they unraveled stories yet unknown. In midnight treks across the hangars, whispering behind daunting engines, they explored mechanical anathema to unlock potential. Technology, their unexpected ally. One evening, while the indifferent moon cast shadows, a discovery that was not bound by textbooks began to take hold. A slumbering ghost born of electromagnetic storm germinated as peculiar yet promising hypotheses within their imaginations. Chapter 10. Confluence. A shred of anomaly laid bare beneath Lily's findings, that one thread that links present realities to past continuum. The familiar storm reared its head like an unexplained paradox. Emboldened by theory, uplifted by understanding, they schemed to recreate that temporal tempest. A playground of impossible constructs awaited. Treading time's tightrope required an unyielding spirit. Jimmy understood it, fought it, as massive fear encircled. Could he recreate such a monumental event without succumbing to its storms forevermore? Chapter 11. Dual Horizons. The now comrades reached the climax of their revelation, Jimmy's determination leashed by the gravity of consequence. A choice. To embrace the past by letting history settle its laurels around him, or wrestle with temporal trickery to retrace a path home. Ness, like twin stars in time's unending manifold. Chapter 12. The Last Crossing. In those spanning twilights looming, the iridescence of the storm gathered once more. Jimmy climbed into the Spitfire, a fortuitous yet disparaged steed to ride time's current. Beneath roaring skies, light danced and storm thundered, with cosmic judges suffocating applause. Forward and back, he held within his being the resolve to grasp destiny's threads and knead them to his wishes. A weaver of fates, wielding electromagnetic looms. Chapter 13. A Final Mission. Empowered by the newfound clarity of Lily's sketches, Jimmy launched into flight for an entropic mission, twisting spacetime's convoluted roads. Those fearsome inner demons, longing to tie him to the comforts of unknown futures, must be quelled, wrestled into submission through visceral effort. Overhead and beneath, the ethereal noise reverberated with silent screams of those now past but imminently persuasive. The storm had birthed yet evolved to tighten his melancholy limits and origins with wordless gravitas. Chapter 14. Echoes of Tomorrow. Then the moment coalesced, the cosmic design booming with resolution nearly slipped free. As surreal echoes merged like diverging streams into linear rivers where sky shimmered one last time, an artist painting across heavens, Jimmy, laden with anchors of those left behind, sought courage to remember, always, the echoes of tomorrow. In the future, Jimmy and Lily were connected, tied as much by electrons of electricity as they were by curious kinships woven across ancestral skies. Back in 1942, Jimmy touched down once more on that English coast's memory-strewn tarmac. The skies above him exhaled, replete with chaos's residue. Behind him hummed the present future he'd touched. Before him lay horizon and adventures both timeless and tense. He felt deep within his being that while unanchored by worldly values of time, unencumbered by its definite truths, he carried whispers of legacy, of ideas birthed in time-lost echoes, a heart and horizon changed irrevocably by his intimate dance through threads of possibility.